can use our imagination to bring goodness to other people and ourselves. So I encourage your listeners of this wonderful podcast that you do is to value who and what you allow in your consciousness, more important than any physical possession that you own. And I have a lot of Joey-O-isms, and I always tell people have bigger houses to store stuff they never use. But I also think it's very important that people are very mindful of only allowing goodness in their mind. And when people get negative, you can quietly walk away because it's not doing them any good, and it's certainly not doing us any good.
Oh, that's very good. You made me think about 15 different thoughts, so I'll try to bring it down to just 2 or 3. Your analogy of somebody coming over to your house and just throwing 50 bags of garbage everywhere and saying, "Thanks for having me over." Well, I can think of just one person that would really enjoy that. And I don't know if you can think of who that person might be, but
Garbage man? Your garbage man?
Well, a garbage man, maybe, if he's bored. No, Oscar the Grouch. I think Oscar the Grouch would absolutely love if he had a friend that came over and dumped 50 bags of garbage. So just put that thought in my mind because, Sesame Street characters that we grew up on, Oscar the Grouch. But, you're talking about not being too hard on yourself. You're really talking about patience. And if you eliminate the weeds in your garden and allow the good plants to grow, is what we're talking about here. That was really good advice.
Yeah, the main thing is for your listeners is that people always get negative thoughts in their mind. But the secret is that as soon as you get a negative thought in your mind, you immediately pull it up like you would a weed in the ground, and you plant in your mind that which you want. You always, like the dream seed says, you always picture in your mind the best outcome that you want, the ultimate goal. That's your dream seed, that you always picture in your mind what you want, and you affirm it with your words, and you picture it in your mind. And it's the way nature grows anything. So it's very important that when someone does get something, that they immediately pull that weed, replace it with their intelligence of growing what they truly want. And it will cut your manifesting time down much more quickly.
Your expression, affirm it in your mind. I was ready to throw a question toward you because one of the main things that you do, your Dream Seed series is not just a children's book, but it's the foundation of your story that is easily communicated. It reaches the child in each one of us and the children that haven't become adults yet. It gives them good mental image of what you can achieve, what you want to achieve in life, of course. But your books have lesson plans. They teach people, they teach parents how to move their children into positivity in their life and how to plant those seeds, how to, you have exercises. It's almost like a mini curriculum that you have. But you make extensive use out of affirmations, positive affirmations. And so not that many people, unfortunately, understand affirmations. Planting a positive thought in your mind, like a mantra that you'll say over and over again. And so if you would take a moment or two to discuss the power of affirmations.
Right. So I have a saying, I had this saying that I wrote, what other people think of us is really none of our business, but what we think of ourselves is the most important decision we'll ever make. And the bottom line is that we always grow in our physical world what we dwell upon in our mental world. It's a mirror image. And I think when people start looking at it that way, that they become very selective, as I just mentioned, of who and what they allow in their consciousness, and really learn to turn off the TV set, get rid of the newspapers, and not allow that in our intelligence. Because if we want to grow a happy life, we have to be very focused on what we want and push away what we don't want. And in the Dream Seed, the book is for ages 4 to 104. And that was my first book that I wrote. It's a shorter book, but it took about 2.5 years to write with the help of my mom. And I learned to, and that book, by the way, is so profound that it's one of few books you'll ever find that's endorsed by Bob Hope, President Ford, and President Bush. Bob Hope wrote the foreword, and President Ford and President Bush and their wives also endorsed it. And it's tough to write a book, but to get those kind of endorsements is not easy as well. But I was relentless. I wrote a saying, never accept no for an answer unless no is the answer you want. And I'm blessed with this incredible persistence that whether it's learning a golf shot that would take me 10 or 20 years to learn, I will stay with it till I learn it, and there's nothing that's going to stop me. And so I encourage your listeners to, if there's something that they truly want, know that they can only succeed. And that, for example, I was talking to a golf pro once, and I said, I've missed more golf shots than anybody alive. He said, no, Joey, you've missed more golf shots than anybody's ever taken. And so every shot that I've missed has really been a gift to me, because I learned how not to do it. And so as you know, in martial arts, that you're incredibly gifted at, and a black belt many times, and that it's the mistakes that we made aren't mistakes. They're really just gifts and lessons, that how we can just kind of learn to do it properly by making mistakes that help us. You know what I'm saying? And I think I think people, if they can change their thought pattern, that if they don't get the outcome they want right away, that's a good thing. It's because it's teaches us to be very grateful that we have the ability to try to improve. And like you had mentioned, I had, one of my favorite sayings is, infinite patience produce immediate results. When you talked about the shots that I do, when I first did learning those, I couldn't do them. I couldn't do any of them. But in my mind, in my physical world, I couldn't. But in my mind, I could see myself doing it perfectly every time. And I would just use my intelligence in an intelligent way to just picture how I could make that ball fly perfect, even in my mind, even when I couldn't do it at all. And because people think I just got up there and did this thing, but no, I mean, I've literally missed more golf shots than anybody alive. It took me 27 years of never giving up to get on the Tonight Show. I mean, I heard 27 years of notes. I didn't believe a word. When I snuck into Fred DeCordova's office, who was the producer of the Tonight Show, I said, I've been dreaming of of entertaining your audience since I was a little boy. Give me a shot. He said, Johnny Carson doesn't like golf. I said, well, you don't have to like golf to enjoy what I do. He said, well, we don't have the rooms to film it. There's no room inside. I said, well, we can film it outside. He gave me no hope. I didn't believe a word he said, Steve, not one word. I went out and I would practice every day, 14 hours. I would write them all the time. They would turn me down. I'd write them back. They'd turn me down. And I thought about it. And even when I was a little boy, Johnny Carson was from Avoca, Iowa, and then he moved to Nebraska as a little boy. But my attitude was, even though we didn't have a TV, I knew there was a guy named Johnny Carson from Avoca, Iowa. And I said, if he can make people laugh from Iowa, then I can too. And that's why I wanted to entertain his audience. That's what inspired me. And I'll tell you, when I first had the idea, I had no idea how I would get on the show. But I would see myself, I would dream about it all the time. And I remember I would dream, even as a boy, I would dream, and I would almost get on the show, and then I'd be the last guest, and they would cut me off. And I didn't get to get, I would dream, but I'll tell you what, I thought about it, Steve, and took action on it, not for 5 years, not for 10 years, not for 25 years, not for 26. I thought about it and took action on it every day for 27 years. And I was out in Palm Springs, and I bumped into Bob Remsen, who was Bob Hope's best friend. Bob Remsen ran the Bob Hope Desert Classic, where I'd done about 40 shows throughout the years. He said, Joey, how's your career going? I go, it's going great. Still dreaming of getting on the Tonight Show. He said, really? He said, you got a video? I said, sure. I handed it to him. 2 weeks later, I was on the Tonight Show with Jay Leno, Tiger Woods, and Bill Paxton. And so I tell people, you see, we don't always get in life what we want, but we always get what we think about and take action on. So I would encourage your listeners to really be mindful of, you just got to keep moving forward, no matter what anybody says. It doesn't matter. What only matters is what we believe. And I knew how the law of cause and effect worked. I knew how the dream seed worked. I knew I had to get on the show if I planted the right seeds in my mind. I nurtured them and watered them. I took action on them. I knew I had to get on because I knew that's the way nature grows everything, whether it's an acorn or into an oak tree or a thought in the mind. And I realized that the ground doesn't care what we plant in it, but neither does our mind. So the most important decision we could ever make is to plant what we want. Because if we plant what we don't want, we'll grow what we don't want and get exactly what we thought about. And the law and cause effect work perfectly in that case too.
Wow, Joey, that was a lot of stuff there. I'm gonna read a quote here from page 55 of the Dream Seed. You can and will accomplish your dream seed by using your intelligence intelligently. Go for it. You'll have great fun. That's a pretty good attitude, Joey. That's a pretty good attitude. Somewhere in your books, it confirms what I've always learned also, that it's your attitude. That's your attitude. You know, the Lord has given us a lot of things, but there's one thing that I know that is unique. It's individual, that no one can ever take away from us. And that's our attitude.
Except yourself.
Yeah, except yourself. No one other than yourself. That's right. I'm going to read one of your affirmations just so people get a feel for what an affirmation that, I mean, you got like 50 of these throughout. Positive affirmation for creative imagination, for honesty and integrity, for being a better listener, how about this one? Positive affirmation for remaining youthful always. They all start off I, then it has a blank. You say your name and you teach people how to read them out loud and so forth. I, Steve Copeland, affirm these words out loud many times daily. I now affirm youthfulness. I think young, I act young, and I feel young. My spirit is alert, alive, and awake. Age is an attitude, not a number. I effortlessly remove old thinking from my consciousness. I am here to love life and experience good, and I do. I only allow uplifting, positive thoughts in my mind. My words are affirmative. I spend time with positive people with youthful attitudes. Age is no longer an excuse. My body feels great, and I move freely with ease. My memory and mind function perfectly. I smile more. I laugh more. I share my excitement for life with all. My youthful spark is contagious. People love me, and I love people. My voice resonates excitement. My step has a spring to it. I'm filled with youthful vitality and energy. I give grateful thanks for this goodness to share. I affirm and know it is so.
Good job.
Yeah, that's some pretty good stuff. I read a lot of your affirmations, and my wife was reading your book the other day, and she unfortunately, when I first gave her the Dream Seed a couple months ago, and by the way, Joey, when you sent copies of the Dream Seed personally autographed to all the kids in my family and grandkids and so forth, you asked me for a list of people so you could sign. I get a big kick out of the way you sign off on these books. You sent a copy of the Dream Seed to me and my wife, Donna, and this is what it says. To my friends, Steve and Donna, may all the dream seeds come true. Plant, grow abundantly. Or may all the dream seeds you plant grow abundantly. I wish you the best, your pal. But then you gave her another copy that said, Donna, now you have your own copy. And it's like, I told her last night, I said, hey, Donna, the copy that I got of the Dream Seed, it's got you and me in his autograph there. But you got your own copy. But here's one. I want you to tell a couple jokes, Joey, but I'll get you started with this. One of the books that you gave me, this title is just so good because I'll say why in a moment. Put off procrastination now. You can wrap your head around that one. Put off procrastination now. You know, Joey, I was the president when I was in high school of the Procrastination Club, but I didn't get reelected because I went the day late to the meeting. But
yeah.
So what do you said in your autograph here? To Steve and Donna, do not put off reading this book. Procrastination. So Joey, a couple real quick, short little one-liner, two-liner jokes that'll make people feel good. Well,
I love talking. I'm from the great state of Iowa, and people ask me all the time, have you lived in Iowa your whole life? And I go, not yet. But anyway, but they also say, is Iowa as friendly as